Hey everybody, it's me, ShoeMoney, live from my hotel room in Las Vegas, and just got back after Affiliate Summit, went home, and now I'm back for another marketing event. Pretty excited about, but thought I'd just, give you a little bit of conference social tips. Because, a lot of people notice me talking to people, they're like, ShoeMoney, why are you so good at it? And I'm just always been good at talking to people and crap like that. But anyway, so the key is you always want to keep the conversation going. So let me give you an example. So you go up to a booth and the booth person's like, "Hey, I'm a CPA network. Nice to meet you." And then you're like, "Hey, I'm an affiliate. Nice to meet you." Then there's dead silence. What do you do with that silence? Because it's kind of just like you just kind of look at each other like, "Right. Well, the newbies do anyway." So here's some tips on where you go from there. And you're going to hear this from a lot of the CPA networks because they're very versed in it. So they're going to say, "Oh, how's the show going for you?" Number one. Number two, when did you get in? Number three, how long you staying for? Where are you staying at? How's the rooms there? And so forth. Now, if the conversation hasn't gone anywhere by now, it's time to use one of those eject lines. Something like, "Hey, it was really nice to meet you. I got to catch up with a friend." Or like, "Do you know where the bathroom's at? Because I got to go." And there's also always the one that I like to use, which is when you have a wingman with you, like my boys Ty or Dave, I give them the old double blink, and that means get me the hell out of this conversation with this person. So engage with people, see where it goes, eject if it's not going anywhere. Don't waste your time with things that aren't going anywhere. Now, let's talk about when you're in a bad situation and you need to not be a jerk, but just kind of go along with it. These are some tips I picked up over going to conferences the last 6 years. So the music's super loud and you're at a club, right? And somebody's comes over to you and they're like, and you can honestly tell where the question's going by the very way they approach you. So if they say, "Hey, ShoeMoney, I want to talk to you," and that's all you need to know, because you know the question from right there, they're going to tell you about what they're doing, and then they're going to stop. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be like they're going to actually start with like, "Hey, I need to ask you a question," or something like that. I get that stuff all the time. It's either one of two things: they want to tell you what they're doing, or they want to ask you a question and get an answer. So from that point on, that can kind of judge where your answer is going. Now, of course, the music's going loud. You're at a party. You can't possibly understand what they're saying. It's just like blah 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 blah. So what you do is you look at them, and if it was a question, you just kind of go, give them one of those, because that works every time. And then just say, "Why don't you give me a call next week and we'll talk?" And that works really good. And they'll be like, "Cool, cool." So the other way is that when people tell you what they're doing, and there's no possible way you can hear them because the music's so loud, and they're just like blah 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 blah. So they're like, "Hey, ShoeMoney, blah 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 blah. What do you think?" And you're like, "Wow, that sounds awesome." Just say that. Just be like, "That's awesome. Good for you, man." And that's it. And they'll leave you alone. I ran into this at the Neverblue party because I really wanted to listen to Rob Hustle rap, and his boys, YT Cracker and Mike, I forgot his last name. But anyway, they were freaking going off, and it was awesome. And I really, really had never heard such talented rappers before. And everyone kept coming up to me, and I was just giving them the old, I wasn't even listening to them. I don't mean to be a dick, but I mean, let's be honest. So I was just like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome. Why don't you call me next week?" I was just kind of focusing on what the rappers were doing, because sometimes, I just want to chill. So that was cool. So those are some tips for you. Hopefully you can maybe put them in your arsenal as you go to conferences, and that way you're never in an awkward position, because there's no possible way you can possibly carry on a conversation when the music is absolutely blaring. So my conference social tips.